everyone. This is the first episode of the podcast. Obviously, this is not a true podcast setting. I don't have a studio or it doesn't look professional. I don't even have a title for this yet. We will figure that out as we go. I'm not worried about that now. I'm just ready to get this first episode out, kind of share my stream of consciousness that I have right now. And I will explain this in a future podcast episode, but I used to be very against doing podcasts, and for those reasons I'll explain later. But I've just finally decided that I need to stop being stubborn. I just realized that this medium is going to continue going forward, and for me just to be stuck in my ways of how I see the medium, it's just never going to change. So yeah, we're going to give this a shot. If it falls flat on his face, at least I can say I tried. So in this first episode, I'm going to discuss 3 essential lessons that I learned while I traveled just over the last 3 years, but even more so, things that got reaffirmed to me during my Balkans and Thailand trip. And the first thing that really kind of reaffirmed from previous trips is that you don't know what you like until you're alone. And obviously, this is based in the mind frame of a solo traveler, but I believe this can really benefit and pertain to any type of traveler, whether you're with a significant other, a group of friends, with family. And what I mean by this is not strictly knowing what you like when you're alone in the physical, but knowing what you like when you're alone, when you're just within your own headspace, right? And you can share these moments. I think it's really important to have kind of community environments and shared meaning while traveling, seeing places. You can kind of have that interaction with each other. But what's to say, for example, you go travel to Paris and you go to the Eiffel Tower, and it's something that you've seen your entire life on your phone, on TV, you've heard about it from other people, and you finally get there, right? I'm not judging anybody, but I would say to really know what you like in that moment, instead of taking a million pictures with the Eiffel Tower, because you can do that. You've already done that your entire life, looking at it online. Walk around the Eiffel Tower, go along the gardens, explore, maybe not explore the restaurants because there's a lot of tourist restaurants there, but you get what I'm saying. Just find something within the vicinity of the certain thing that you're attracted to. And that's the kind of the best way to explore things while you're alone. And what is really important for me, obviously as a solo traveler, I got to really experiment with this. But, I'm a full endorser of having positive habits, attractive habits. I'm a big endorser of structure. But the thing that structure and attractive habits fail at is preferences, right? And you don't know your preferences until you're alone and you really kind of go through the trial and error of exploring different things. And the most important thing is that if your preferences are influenced by a person or a place, you'll never find what truly excites you. So that's something that I got to experience as a solo traveler. I think solo travelers have the most potential to learn this kind of lesson, but you can still do this no matter who you're traveling with. So that would be my first thing, kind of going outside of the group think setting of going to the same places that everybody's kind of gone to. And that's easy, right? We are so influenced by things that we see on social media. I've did it myself on this last trip, seeing things on Instagram and on TikToks and shorts and whatnot, and seeing all these cool places, these kind of under the radar places, which are never under the radar. If it's posted online, someone been there tenfold times. But the good thing about that is you can go to those places still. But if you're doing it in your own kind of agency, then you don't have to get disappointed first off when it might not be something you don't like. But if you do like it, then, you can kind of follow that path of similar type of attractions, similar type of, places and things to do. The second lesson that I learned while traveling, this is kind of an extension of the first lesson, and that is to eat your daily bread. And I'm going to use a couple analogies. Obviously, this is one analogy. It's from the Lord's Prayer. And the whole kind of overarching lesson of this is sustenance. And what I kind of consider by sustenance is, let's say you have, no matter the time, you're a long distance traveler like I just experienced, or you just have a standard 1 to 2 weeks to explore a place. And obviously there's so many things that you want to do. You're so ambitious to go out and see all the places that you have bookmarked, to go try all these different types of foods, to explore them much as you can because you feel like your time is limited. And in some cases, you're right, it is. But The most important thing to remember in that is all of that wears off within a couple days. And for me, something that kind of kept me going on a day-to-day basis is having the same kind of thing to sustain me every day. And when you kind of reflect and look at it in a bigger picture, you probably have that in your day-to-day life. So you shouldn't have to change that while you're traveling. Continue to have that thing that sustains you every day. It could be a plethora of things. It could be going for a walk in the morning. It could be, reading a couple pages of a book that you like. It could be FaceTiming or calling a friend. It could be going to the gym, finding a gym wherever you're at. When you find these things, and that's kind of goes back to that's like the positives of, attractive habits and finding the thing that keeps you going every day. For me, like I've already mentioned, it was going on a walk and reading a book in a really nice spot. Usually I'd find a park. I could kind of kill two birds with one stone. But I realized when I took the time to do those things most mornings, the rest of my day was really energetic still. I felt like I had a little bit of ambition in me to still kind of explore things. Even by the end of my trip when I was exhausted, that kind of little piece of bread, that piece of sustenance every day kept me going. And I think an extension of that, when you find that sustenance, it gives you motivation to go off the beaten path, to try something random off a menu besides the traditional things that you might already have bookmarked. To talk to a stranger that doesn't look like one of your friends at home. You'll be surprised the kind of stimulus that you receive by doing different things that you didn't kind of have in your myopic, and I don't mean for this to sound negative, but this very myopic, narrow focus, maybe itinerary structure that I've previously talked about. When you have something every day that is common, that does sustain you, you're able to be a little bit more risk-taking and courageous. And like I said, go off the beaten path of what you expected. And that's when things truly flourish for you. And I think it's kind of ironic that I speak for this firsthand, that I do these things while traveling, but I don't always do them while I'm at home. Yes, I have the thing that gives me sustenance, but I have learned over the years with maturity and, like I said, social courageousness and whatnot to kind of implement this broader experience in my day-to-day life. And I do want to add one more kind of story analogy here that may be helpful, may not be helpful. The figure that I'm using is probably not the most appropriate at this time. I'm not going to delve into my personal thoughts about him, but there's a really interesting story that I read about Elon Musk in his book written by Walter Isaacson. And Elon was in this hotel, I believe in Vegas, after a long night of partying and whatnot. And he's with this group of people that he was already in Vegas with. And they're in a hotel room. Everybody's playing poker. Everyone's kind of high rolling in their own respect. But Elon walks in the room. He's the richest person in the room. And what he does is he goes to the poker table, and every hand he goes all in and all in. And Elon he just has a abundance of capital with him. And every round he keeps going all in. Like, I don't remember the amount, but it's a few $1,000s per hand. And he loses it every round. And he gets to a point where his strategy of going all in eventually works. And even though he lost so many times, he had so much capital with him, an abundance of resources, that the one time that he did win, he basically won all his money back because he was betting the most in each hand. And again, I understand that might not be the most appropriate figure to use, but I think there's a deeper lesson in that. And this is where nuance comes in. I'm not saying that you have to go all in on your experiences, whether at traveling or at home. You have to have risk management, obviously. But I think the most important thing to learn in that is, again, the sustenance. And maybe it's not so much having thousands of dollars for a poker hand, but if you have something every day that kind of refills your cup, gives you an abundance kind of mentality, an abundance feeling, you're able to take chances in other areas of your life that you might not have had the confidence to do without that one thing that keeps feeding you. And the third and final lesson, probably the most consistent and important lesson that I learned while traveling, is novelty is never enough. It's ironic because travel is all about novelty. It's all about newness, exploring things that were beyond your wildest dreams, kind of manifesting your desires, manifesting things that you have dreamt about, and having them kind of come to the surface face to face. And the thing about that is constantly being enticed by the possibilities will leave you with untapped potential. And what I mean by that is as you continue to develop novelty in your life period, let's just step away from traveling for a second. When you continue to develop novelty in your day-to-day life, you're going to realize that yes, you can explore something new every day, but that feeling, that kind of stimulus, euphoria, dopamine, maybe the best way to put it, it's just going, the bar is going to keep rising. You're never going to consistently hit that bar of dopamine and euphoria that you get from novelty. And it's why people kind of crash and burn when they're looking for something new. It's the reason why, relationships often fail because people are kind of always looking for the new thing. It's why people get sucked up in consuming and kind of get caught up in bad financial habits. I can go on and on. Again, those are topics for another day. But when you get caught up in novelty, it shouldn't be about you. And that's kind of the irony of that is when we make it things about novelty, we get caught up in what it can do for us. And the most important thing about traveling is that it's not about you. Traveling is about stepping outside of yourself, expanding your horizons, taking in new cultures, new experiences, and hopefully coming back and then paying those experiences forward to your social groups, to your family, to whoever it might be, most importantly to yourself. So again, this is the most kind of transferable skill that I've learned. It's because when you keep that in mind, the importance of having novelty, you're not taking the moment for granted, right? You are kind of immersed in your surroundings. You understand that this moment is the moment that I have now. It's a new moment, and that moment's going to be gone as soon as I step away from it. So that's something that I considered. I had to learn that through a lot of trial and error. I'll be completely transparent. There's a lot of times where I kind of reflect on my traveling the past few years, and there's key moments that I remember from traveling in multiple cities in the States, or when I went to Europe for the first time, when I went to Mexico for the first time. And I don't remember the day-to-day things that happen on those trips. Obviously, something like journaling really helped me improve that for this trip. But I think me understanding that novelty is not the answer and it's never going to, resolve anything. It's never enough. Then I really got to sit with myself in the day-to-day and be like, this is something that's new. There's a chance I might ever experience something similar to this again. So let me just sit with it, absorb it. If there's opportunities for me to share it with people, even better, a cherry on top. But I just really want to focus on something that is new. And if it goes away, it goes away. If it's something that becomes a mainstay in my kind of experience, then that's awesome. And I want to kind of leave off with this. There's a quote by Socrates that he asked this question. He had the same problem 2,000 years ago. It's not something that's new to us in the modern day. We can blame technology. We can blame social media. We can blame all these different things. But even 2,000 years ago, novelty was a problem. And Socrates had this really interesting point about travel. He says, why do you wonder that globetrotting does not help you, seeing that you always take yourself with you? The reason which you have set wandering is ever at your heels. And what he means by this is when you go out to travel, it does not change you. It might kind of enhance skills that you already have. It might make you realize things that you subconsciously had but weren't working on them. But you're never going to change as a person. That's kind of the irony of novelty too, is that novelty can make things look good, but eventually it all evaporates, it all comes back, and you're still stuck. Maybe stuck is a little bit of a negative term, but you're always continuing to be with the same person that you were beforehand. And that's something that I'm really proud of with my travels, is that I realized that early on. I wasn't trying to have a coming to Jesus moment. I didn't have any epiphanies while traveling. It was just either reinforcements or things that kind of like a eureka went off in my head. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's something that I hadn't considered before. And I just kind of add that to my tool belt of skills and understandings that I already have pre-existing. So this was supposed to be 10 minutes. I don't know. Once I edit this, it's probably going to be over 10 minutes. But this is the first episode. I want to apologize for it being kind of sloppy and unconventional, but we're just kind of getting our ground running. Kind of similar to what, for those that might follow me on Instagram, I used to do these Topic Tuesday things, and they were very sloppy too. But people took away things from them. So that's my hope here. If you take away one interesting lesson, even just one line from this podcast episode video, then this was worth uploading. So that's going to be episode number 1. If you have any ideas on topics that you'd like to hear, maybe you want to share your thoughts. If you're a traveler, share your thoughts on lessons that you've learned. Drop a comment below, like, subscribe. It's weird saying that. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for watching.